All right, so we're just going to wait for some people to show up. All right, so we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. All right, and we're just going to wait for more people to show up right now. But as you can see, we're going to talk about how to build muscle fast. All right. So like that's it, just how to build muscle fast because building muscle is pretty tough. It's a really tough thing to do. It's out of everything you're doing in the fitness industry, well, not in fitness industry, anything you're trying to do in fitness, the hardest thing is building muscle. Um, Losing body fat is very simple. It's very easy to do. It's easy to get ripped. I would say building muscle is the hardest because when it comes down to building muscle, it's one of those things where you could be in the gym training, lifting heavy, doing the workouts, but you just don't see growth. And it's something you're not going to see pretty fast if you don't know what you're doing. You don't have a particular structure or a blueprint that is proven that's going to get you the results. And the problem about the information that's out there today is something that people don't talk about when it comes to building muscle is the nutrition. A lot of people don't focus so much on the nutrition. They're more focused on the workouts and they're more focused on looking at like big giant bodybuilders who's lifting weights and going heavy and going hardcore. And it's easy to get attracted to that because you're just like, okay, I feel that when I'm training, I need to be training just as hard as these guys, sweating, huffing and puffing, try and go as heavy as possible in every single set to build muscle because they just look very cool. They look extreme and they look jacked. And I want to tell you this, man. I've been I've been lifting weights since I was 15 years old. And the reason I built all this is one part is time and patience. Like just having time and patience and just doing the consistency of just training every single day. I won't say every day, but at least 4 or 5 days out of the week doing that has got results. Just not giving up and always figuring out ways to adjust and dial in my diet. These are the things that's played the biggest role. But you probably already heard if you're trying to build muscle fast, you need to be in a caloric surplus. Okay. And this is true. But what I've noticed is so many people that do a caloric surplus, they feel that this is a pass to eat whatever you want. And majority of the people who actually build that much muscle, like actually, well, not muscle, but people that actually um, be on that caloric surplus, they end up gaining weight and just being fat. You know what I'm saying? That's what usually happens. They don't usually like just stay lean, stay shredded, build muscle. What they usually do is end up gaining more body fat, and then it becomes a yo-yo diet. It's like they're if they try to be on a caloric surplus, what happens? They start putting on body fat, and then when that individual feels that they're too heavy and they're just getting too much fat, they try to lose weight, and then when they lose weight, they get too skinny. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that I've noticed when it comes to individuals who want to do this type of lifestyle. So, so the key when it comes down to this, right, is going to be. I guess we lost the Instagram because I can't find. Yeah, man, I just lost it because it was like frozen. Let's see if we can bring it up before I continue. There you go. All right. So, like I was saying, um, the problem is that people go back and forth because it's either they put on too much body fat when they're in a caloric surplus, and then when they're trying to cut, they get too skinny. And people don't understand how to find that balance. Like, how can I stay lean and ripped, but then be able to build lean muscle mass? Okay. And that's what I'm going to show you today. So before we continue on to that, I'm going to go ahead and write it down into the chat. Comment. I think it's let me see, what is that keyword? Let's see. Just give me a sec. Comment down below vegan muscle. Yeah, comment down below vegan muscle. Okay. And I'll send you my free ebook, 7 Ways to Get Jacked on Plans. Okay. So I will go ahead and put that into the chat. Just give me a sec. And I'll do that for you guys on YouTube as well. I'm just going to put the link in there. So for anyone that's on YouTube and stuff, y'all can just like click on the link and download the book. But for everyone on Instagram, so my book, what I say, Jack Vegan. Oh man, I forgot vegan muscle. I just forgot. I need to get some lunch in. Let me look it up. I literally just said it and just forgot it. Yeah, vegan muscle. Okay. So let me find. I have too many windows open. Okay. It's vegan muscle. All right. And we got someone says consistency is key. Yes, it is. It's the key. It's the key. It's a key for everything, really. It's a key for success, to be honest with you. Just not giving up. And then for everyone that's on YouTube, let me go ahead and just send you the link, and we'll just pin that for you guys. So let me see. Here it is. And then we'll go right into it real quick. All right, cool. So let's get into it. All right. So when it comes to building muscle, one of the things you want to do is you want to take your weight, your lean body mass, and then you want to times it by 15. Okay. So it's very similar. If y'all weren't on my call yesterday, I've talked about losing body fat, and today we're going to talk about building muscle. Okay. So when it comes down to it, we're going to go ahead and look up for a calculator. All right. So let's say you're about 150 pounds and you want to times that by 15. Okay. That's about 2250. Okay. So you want to go ahead and do that. And then what you want to do is figure out the ratio of protein, carbs, and fats that you want to be consuming. Now, when it comes to building muscle, the magic ratio that I like to use is 30% protein. I believe it's, let me just make sure I'm doing the math right, but it's 30% protein. Hold on. 30% protein plus 35 plus 30. Nah, so it's 30% protein, 40% carbs, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 30% fat. Okay, so 30, 40, 30. All right. That's what I like to use. That's what I like to use when it comes to building muscle. So when it comes to that ratio, then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take 2250 and times it by 0.30. Okay. That's going to break up that ratio of the calories because we're using 30% for protein. That's 30% for that protein is about 675 calories. Okay. Then we're going to times that by 4. And the reason we want to multiply it by 4 is because there's 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories, right? So we're going to go ahead and do that. It's probably multiplied by 4. Not bad. Let me go back. Let's see if we go. Yeah, we're divided by 4. And that's going to be 168. All right. So for someone that's 150 pounds, they want to be consuming about 169. We just round that up, 169 grams of protein. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing for the carbs. Okay. So for the carbs, we're going to take, I said 40%. So 2250 times 0.40. That's transferring 40% into a decimal. That's equals 900 calories. We're going to multiply by 4 because 1 gram of carb equals 4 calories. That's about 225. So that's going to be your carbohydrate intake is going to be about 225. So we have what, like 169 grams of protein, 225 grams of carbohydrates, right? And then we're going to take 2250. We're going to multiply it by 9. Oh, sorry, but times 0.30. Sorry, not 9. 0.30 because the fat ratio is 30%. 675, and then we're going to divide it by 9 because 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories, and that's 75. Okay, so when it comes down to it, you have 75 grams of fat, 225 grams of carbs, 169 grams of protein, and this is a good place to start. Okay, and if you're already lean, this is like for a 150-pound lean man, right? Probably holding about like 10% body fat. That would actually be a really good calorie and macro to start off with. And then what you want to do is go ahead and do that for at least a month and then remeasure yourself. Okay. Now I've showed 2 ways you could do it. One way is you could purchase a scale, like an InBody scale or a scale that checks your weight, body fat, and that just checks your weight and body fat. And I've already showed y'all this, but I can show you again. All right. So if we go here, you go to my website at bodyhdfitness.com/shop, or you go on Amazon, but you will save a little bit of money if you go on my website. You could purchase one of these 2 scales. You could get the InBody scale that checks your weight and body fat. These scales run about $200 to $300. I mean, we can actually see how much it costs right now. So right now they're running for about $284. Okay, so like I said, it was like $300 last time. Now it's like $284. And again, if you buy it from my link, you'll get a percentage off because I'm part of the influencers and associates program. So like you'll get a little discount off that. And then another scale that's a little bit cheaper, if you don't want to spend too much money on that particular type of scale, you can get the Omron. And the Omron is pretty good as well. Let's see how much they're actually charging today, because usually these runs about, I've seen them run as low as $50 all the way up to $150. But today's price, we're looking at about $84.99. Okay, so a little bit cheaper, but you could get that. Okay. So one of these 2 scales will work best for you. And if you are going to look for other scales, I mean, just make sure that it has both of these, like it has a handheld and the feet sensors, because it's going to really check your whole entire body versus if you're just using a scale that just checks your feet, or a scale that only checks your hands. All right. You want to make sure a scale checks both hands and feet, so you get a more accurate reading. That's one way you could do it. Another way is from ChatGPT. And I showed this yesterday as well. So in ChatGPT, and we could look at, we don't have to like go all through it, but what you could do is take some pictures of yourself, right? Like a front picture and a back picture, or a front and back. I got that backwards. Upload it and just ask, what is my body fat percentage? And then it's going to go ahead and give you an estimate breakdown of your body fat percentage. Okay. And then when you have that, it's easy to go ahead and see like what your lean body mass is. Okay. Okay. If you're trying to figure out your lean body mass, it's all math again. So if I go back to the calculator, let's see, let's just bring it up. So I measured myself with my InBody today. Said I was at 7% at 180 pounds. So if I'm 180 pounds, want to multiply it by 0.07. Okay, it says that I have about 12.6 grams of fat. So because that's what we're doing, we're taking that 7% and trying to figure out how much fat do I have within my weight, right? So we're going to round that up to 13 pounds. So I have about 13 pounds of fat. So then we're going to go ahead and take 180, subtract it by 13, and then your lean body mass. Okay. So that's only, and the reason you want to know this is so you could actually understand like what's your weight, your body fat, because if you're just using ChatGPT and you got that measurement, then you want to figure out like the lean body mass. I mean, you could more likely, like I could probably say like, what is my muscle mass index? It'll probably do the math for me. Let's see. 180 pounds and at 7% body fat, what is my muscle mass? You could probably just ask it. It'll do the math for you. See, so it shows, so it does lean body mass 167. See what I'm saying? So you could just ask it, but but it's also good to know the math as well. So as you saw, like I showed you the math way. So you could do it that way as well. So it's always good to know both. But with that said, that's pretty much how you do that. Okay. And you want to check every month, because if you see like the body fat skyrocketed, then you want to go ahead and subtract the calories. Go back a little bit if you're gaining too much body fat. But if you notice that your body fat stays the same or it just goes up like a tad bit, and when I say a tad bit, like 0.5%, maybe even 1%, that's a good indicator that you can raise it up some more. Okay. Because even when it grows about 0.5 to 1%, it's not that big of a difference where you have to worry. So if you were at 10% and you went to 11% with extra calories, I wouldn't really sweat about that. If you add some more, you'd probably be surprised it doesn't change again. But and then every month you could redo that formula and add more calories to your diet. But if you notice it went from like 1% to 3% or 1% to 5%, I would definitely dial it back a lot. Okay. And that's why you want to kind of do it. But the reality is that you do want to check your weight every single week, so you can see the trend of where it's at, just so you can see everything. And then at the end of the month, go ahead and make the adjustments. Now, the only time I would say change it within, if you need it, change it in halfway in between, is like within the first 2 weeks and you just see straight fat percentage going like crazy high, you're just eating way too much food for whatever reason you're doing. But this is something that I tell, this is something that I do. This is something that I tell a lot of my students to do when we're coaching them, because if you're too critical and too afraid about gaining weight, and then you're always changing it all the time just because the scale went up a little bit or it went down a little bit, and you're changing it up every single day or every single week, you're not going to get good results. And it goes back to the consistency part, being patient, trusting process, and understanding that if you're checking your weight every single week and then you're making adjustments once a month, or at least if you see any type of emergencies and need to really change it within the first 2 weeks, then you're in a more controlled environment, so nothing goes haywire, because no one gets overweight and fat on a surplus overnight. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't happen. It only happens when someone's not tracking and they're not paying attention to the foods that they're consuming, and they're just like eating whatever they want. Okay. So if you're not tracking, you're slacking. And then when you do random things, you're going to get random results. Simple as that. Okay. So it really boils down to those particular things. All right. Now, the only thing I would say when it comes down to everything, someone asks, what about having the 0.08 gram weight when some trainers are suggesting? This formula that people use is only for protein. That's why I don't. That's why, as long as I've been doing this, and you can scrape through all my content, I never really actually even preach this, because it's only for protein. And and this is something that I've talked about yesterday, and I'll talk about it today. When it comes down to the protein, people are too obsessed with protein. So even with the question, we could see like the question is coming from a protein standpoint. We're not even paying attention to overall calories. Like I said, if you want to try being a slight caloric surplus, you need to be you need to make sure you're getting enough calories, and that really comes from more of your total caloric intake, and you want to have the ratios broken down. So when it comes to the protein and gram per all that stuff, like 0.8 or gram per gram, like I don't follow that formula, because it's only based for protein only, and that is it. It's not based on overall caloric intake, and this is why it's like it's just a cheap way and a fast, easy way to get people to eat more protein. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. But even if you did that, like the 0.8 or 1 gram per gram or whatnot, you'll notice that even with the ratio I use and that example I gave, they're eating a little bit more of a gram per body weight, because if the individual is 150 and he's eating about 169, he's eating a little bit more over one gram, if that makes sense. Okay. So again, go ahead and comment down below Vegan Muscle if you want my free ebook. But those are a few ways to be able to build muscle when you're trying to be in a caloric surplus. All right. So with that said, I'll go ahead and let everyone go, and I'll talk to y'all I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Have a good day. Peace.